This is one of a pair of cabinet doors that had been on fire. You can see the where it got heat cracked. See this? Now this is not lead, except that it's on the outside of the cabinet door. And so here's the one I had already taken out. See? See? This was a tape that they put on, and they put it on the glass first, right? Then they put the glass in the cabinet. Okay, so whether they put it on and they glued it down with God knows what. Okay, so what I'm doing for the client, because I can't repair this, obviously, it's a solid piece of glass with this lead tape on it. So what I'm doing is I'll be making new. Now, in order for me to make new, sorry for the glare, in order for me to make new, I have to clean these things out. Now, when you work on old woodwork like this, or really any kind of woodwork, you want to clamp it down to the table. And when you clamp it down to the table, you also want to have a little piece of wood, okay, between the clamp and the piece, so you don't bruise the wood. Very easy to put a bruise in there. Some folks get freaked out when that happens. So, you know, the best way to prevent it is to prevent it from happening. So, now normally, and this is some kind of glazing compound, I'm not sure what exactly, but okay, little piece of wood, and it's funny because this is my glass cutting table also. So when I built this, I made it with a couple of inches indentation around the edge so I could clamp things to it. Okay, so, and I don't want to have to use a hammer and a chisel on this thing to get this out. So this is one of those multi-tools. You see that? They have turned the blade around. Okay, so it acts kind of like a scraper. Now this is going to get really noisy, and I'm sorry, but hard part is getting it started. But it works a lot better than a hammer. I did tell the client that I was going to be careful and not try not to tear it up. They understand that, so I got a little spot there. The nice thing about these tools also, see? Not really worried about breaking the glass, it's already busted. I'm more worried about tearing up even those to the inside. I don't know if you can see that or not. Did you get that? Yeah. So, I already did one. This is the one that I got the other glass out of. And I still have to go back and clean this out because along the edge and where it was, I don't know, glued in somehow, because what I'll be doing is making new panel out of lead cane. Alright, and I need to be able to have this outline to know where the perimeter is. Now some folks would say, well, get it off of the glass. Well, there's a little bit of play, more than I'm comfortable with, around the glass on this thing that came out. So, yeah. That's one of the tools that I use in order to remove and this stuff is, get a piece here. This stuff is actually brown all the way through. Now, you can color white glazing compound just in the same way that you can color the putty that you use when you cement a window. It just has to be like an oil-based paint. Okay? And you have to be able to thin it and blend it. You don't want it too thin because you're going to be using it to glaze in here, which is more than likely what they did. Okay, they colored it. I've had to do this with whenever I do a repair on a cabinet. You know, you don't want to use white because they're going to stick out like a sore thumb. You don't want to use gray because it's the same thing. You're still going to see it. So I do take the time to color it. And if it's too, if it's too thin, I don't necessarily mix plaster of Paris with it, but you can. Okay, see, brown. So that's kind of the name of that tune. But that's, and the nice thing about these tools is that at least the newer ones have, it's interchangeable. A quick release for the blade. These things usually come with a sanding wedge. When I get everything cleaned out, okay, when I get everything cleaned out, then I use one of these. Okay, it just basically snaps on, and I'm not getting any royalties for this. Okay, and it makes a nice little sander, so I can clean out everywhere that I've removed this stuff. I'll get as much of it as I can out with the tool, and then I'll take this and sand everything down so it's nice and clean. Then I can get the rubbing from the edge of this. Okay, and then I can make the pattern to make the pair of windows that I have to for this. Okay, so yeah, that's kind of what we have to do in order to get these things out. They're also held in with little tiny, itty bitty, teeny tiny nails in places. Let me get one out here. Lost it. There's another one in there somewhere. Yeah. There you go. Now, see, itty bitty, teeny tiny, itty bitty nail. See, that's what's held in with. Of course, I'll be using a different system when I put everything back together. So, thank you. God bless. Have a good evening. Bye.